Oh, and yeah, as you notice, I got that tapped out. My big fat callous fingers that can't feel anything. And you can tell they are not flat. Well, hey folks, if you can't tell, we've received our first snowfall that seems to be sticking around for a few days up here in northern Minnesota. I know some of you guys would equal this to be a blizzard, but apparently this is just a dusting. We got about 3 or 4 inches. It's about 22 degrees and it's not too bad. But today we have a task that apparently I need to do during the snow. And I wasn't expecting to do it during the snow, but it took me a while to get a rebuild kit. But today we're going to remove the carburetor off this backhoe and bring it back to the shop and get on the bench and do a rebuild on it. And there's Frankie. He's on his chain right now because if he was off his chain while I'm doing this work, I would not get anything done because he would be all up in the business and it'd be a mess. So he gets to hang out for a little while on this chain, unfortunately. He actually does run free quite a bit. I put him on the chain at night. Not every night, actually, but once in a while, just to make sure he remembers where home is. And he pretty much sticks around and listens to these geese over here lose their minds because the dangerous human that feeds them is over here and they can see me. So anyway, it's time to get after this carburetor removal and get it back to the shop. Okay, here's what we're looking at, folks. It's in a really tight spot back here. You gonna whine this whole time? You can't help, because you just be in the way too much. You just hang out over there, okay? All right, so it's not too difficult to get out except for the bolt that's on the back side there. I just gotta take out the air cleaner. I already turned the fuel off, take out the fuel line, take out a couple bolts here, the 2 top ones here, roll it out, disconnect the choke, and we should have her out of here. Get the impossible screw out first. Well, it's not totally impossible. That dog, he really wants to help. His definition of help is completely different from mine, though, unfortunately for him. So this part right here is connected into the governor. So, and I didn't know that when I first started looking into getting this thing rebuilt. I learned a few things about this carburetor. Overall, it's it's a pretty simple carburetor. It's really not that complicated. It just does what all these things do. It just mix appropriate amounts of air with fuel and makes little explosions in the engine. Get this air cleaner off of here. Well, not the air cleaner, but the tube going to the air cleaner. Get that out. It's actually really nice today. Even though it's 22 degrees out, there's no wind. So it makes it rather pleasant. That's actually in pretty good shape. Guess I can get a new fuel filter for it as well. That one looks... I'll get a new one anyway, simply because I'm back here and I'm getting into it. That one may be good, but there ain't no reason to leave it on there if it's a $3 part. Well, at today's prices, it's probably a $33 part for all I know. Okay, don't grip on my tool bag. Okay, let's see if I can get that one in the bag. Oh, that one's going to be the bugger, isn't it? How did they put that on there? Let's try to put a needle in those pliers. I think I got it turning now. Yep. Well, I'm not going to look forward to putting that nut back on. I might have to put a plug in that. Push that back. Save the gasket. Put these back on so I don't lose them. So this thing has been running super rich and doesn't want to run unless the choke is on all the way, which tells me that the little seats that the needle valves go into probably corroded and dirty. Bowl's probably got dirt in it. Who knows what else. So there it is, ready to go back to the shop and get rebuilt. And yeah, we'll see you back at the shop. Okay, we're back here in the shop. I got the carburetor here. I'm about to break it down, take it apart, and take a look at what's going on inside. But first, I wanted to give you a basic rundown of how, a really basic rundown how carburetors work, and why I think what's wrong with it is what's actually wrong with it. And then we'll get into it. Okay, here's my really stupid, simple explanation of a carburetor. It's a pipe, right? Basically just a pipe, and it has air starting here, making its way over to the engine, and there's an area over here that has fuel and a fuel jet or an emulsion tube, depends on your flavor, basically, on what you want to call it. But air comes in here, mixes with fuel out of here, and goes to the engine. So I'm going to use this little piece of plastic here as my choke, right? So right now my engine will not run unless the choke is fully closed. So what I'm trying to explain here is that typical basic engines like what I have, they run on 15 parts air and 1 part fuel, right? And that's under normal operating situations, right? Now, if the air is cold outside or the engine's really cold, like in the middle of winter, you kind of need a little bit of a richer mixture. So you can close your choke. You don't have to close it all the way like that. You can close it halfway or a quarter or whatever you feel you need, whatever makes it work to reduce the parts of air to fuel. So in situations like where it's all the way closed, I don't know the exact number, but I'm guessing you're probably reducing your air to 4 parts to 1 part air just to get it start and get it run. And then as it warms up, you open that choke up and get it to its normal operating of 15 parts air to 1 part fuel. Well, right now this engine will not run at all unless that choke is closed. If you open it, it dies right away, which means it's getting too much air, not enough fuel, right? So this is my diagnosis right now, is that closed, it's running, which means that this tube, this fuel jet or emulsion tube, is clogged and dirty, right? And there's probably dirt in the fuel bowl, and it probably needs a fuel filter as well. So it's only getting a small amount of fuel in here, so it can only run with only a little bit of air. So when you open it, it dies because the ratio is off and it's not going to run. So that's my diagnosis pretty much, is that this tube is the dirty one. Now there's another one inside the carburetor, and I'll show you as I take it apart. But there's another tube that goes from the fuel bowl, and it goes not like this, but it comes around here to the intake, right? And this is the fuel bowl vent. And reason is that when the fuel bowl is empty and you put fuel in there, you got to displace the air to somewhere, so the air goes and it leaves out. And you know, for efficiency purposes, that air goes into the intake. That way, if there's fuel vapors in there, you're not wasting fuel and it gets run right back to the engine. But I surmise that this tube is dirty, and I'm pretty sure that this fuel vent tube is clogged up as well. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of sediment in the bottom of the bowl, and there's a couple of other small ports on this carburetor I'm pretty sure are dirty as well. But that's my really keep it simple, stupid diagnosis of what's going on with this carburetor. So let's go ahead and get on with taking this thing apart and investigating what's actually going on. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing taken apart. Go ahead and take this, it's the part that holds the choke cable in place, to get that thing off. And we're going to go ahead and split this entire carburetor in half. Sticking there for some reason. I might need to chase those threads later before I put this back together. Or it's just, no, it's not moving. Yep, I think those threads need to be chased a little bit, clean them up. Or it just could be a little bit of junk on them. All right. First of all, take a look in there. That's a terrible shot. Let's get over here. Look at all that crud in there. Yep, I'm pretty sure my dirty carburetor diagnosis is pretty close to being correct. Set that aside for a second. Get this gasket off. We're going to replace this. Pretty poor shape. Venturi came out really nice. That's good. Okay, so I've seen a lot of people take these apart and they just take all this other stuff around with the floats flopping around. I don't want to damage it, so I'm going to go ahead and get that out right now. Let's see how this one comes out. Okay, pretty simple. Pins out, floats out. Looks like it's in pretty good shape, actually. No, there's no fluid in it, so must not be leaking. Set that aside. And the next thing I'm going to take out is the fuel inlet. Wrong wrench. I guess that's all going to come out at once. Should be a screen on the other side of this. I don't think the kit I ordered has a screen, but it looks like I might need one. That thing came detached. Will she fall out? No, but the needle valve did from around here. Oh, well, this thing might have had a rebuild at one time. It's got the rubber tip on it. Set that aside for right now. I need a needle nose pliers. Let's get this screen out of here. There shouldn't be anything holding it back. Seems stuck. Oh, there we go. And it's just under the light a little bit. It's pretty beat up. I gotta go double check my order form, make sure I'm ordering one. This don't look too good. Anyway, on with the disassembly. This one should be a 7/16. This is the seat for the needle valve that controls the level of fuel in the bowl over here. The one I just showed you that's got the rubber tip on it. Appears this has been rebuilt at one point in time or the other. Seems to be pretty good. There's no pitting or anything. It's really clean. All right. Let's go ahead and get these. This is the idle screw, and this is the I can't remember off the top of my head. I think this is the idle mixture screw, and this one is the idle, the actual idle screw that you use to adjust your RPM to 425, from what I understand, 425 RPMs. This should be the idle mixture screw. Let's see how this looks. Oh, yep, there's some wear on it. Not a whole lot. You probably can't see it. There's a little bit of a groove in there. The kit, I believe, comes with a new one of these, so that should be all right. We'll take the idle screw out. This should not need replacing, because this goes in this hole right here, and it adjusts how far the throttle flapper thingy can go back. Governor goes into that square slot right there. The governor linkage, should I say it right, goes in there. Get that gasket off of there. Got some rust in there, so that could be part of our issue. But I'm gonna have to blow out all these ports here everything, get it all cleaned up. Doesn't look too bad, but the fact that there's so much rust down in the bowl tells me we got some crud issues. So now here's the needle valve down here that this adjusts how much fuel you're actually feeding through this main jet when you're running the engine. Like I was explaining earlier, you got 15 parts of air coming in here, and you got 1 part of fuel coming out of here. And this is your idle. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but this is the idle fuel. And I got to be careful not to take that out unless I absolutely have to. But it does look dirty. Matter of fact, I can see very clearly it's very dirty. Let me go ahead and try. This is brass into cast iron, so if it doesn't come out easily, leave it and then run a wire down there and clean it out. Oh, there we go. Nice and easy. Kit should come with a brand new one of these. I'm gonna look through the light. Oh yeah, that thing is clogged badly. You can't see it. I'm looking through this really bright light up here through it, and it's pretty plugged up. So there's half our problem solved. All right, I'm gonna need a 7/16 socket on that one. This one is the one I was actually expecting to be pretty clogged up. Appears to be fairly clean. There's a little bit of varnish in there from it's sitting over the winter with old gas, but we'll see. Get that gasket out there. Now I'm not going to take the choke out of there. I have no reason to. I'm not getting any replacement parts for this thing, so we're going to go ahead and leave that in there. But we will get this filthy. All right, let's see if I can get you guys down here where you can actually see that. See that needle valve down there? See all that crud on it? Plus it appears to be corroded. So that is part of the issue. Plus it looks like it's in a really wide open position. So that could explain part of our issues. But let's go ahead and get that out. Where is, no, it's just a 7/16. Maybe I should probably get this screw out of it first. This also has a needle valve on it. Well, the screw on the tip of it is a needle valve. There's also a packing in here, from what I understand is a graphite packing, which is made. Oh goodness gracious, that thing is rusted. Let's get y'all some better light. That thing is rusted and pitted. Good thing I got a new one coming. That's definitely part of the issue we got going on here. Let's get this sucker out of here. The packing is right behind it. I'm not going to try to take that out right now, because I don't remember if the kit I ordered has a new set of packing. We're going to leave that alone. Let's get this drain plug out. Oh, she's on there. This plug is here so if you want to winterize your tractor and you want to, you know, park it for a few months, you can drain all the fuel out of the bowl and you won't get any varnish buildup from old fuel sitting in there. Yep. Okay. Yeah, it appears to just be a very, very, very dirty carburetor. Okay, so I'm going to get set up to get these things cleaned up, soaking, sprayed down, scrubbed, wire brushed, etc. And then we'll get into the next part, which is, it's going to be in this video as well. This is going to be many different parts all in the same video, so don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna get it done all in one video. Okay, you just watched me disassemble the carburetor. That was actually about a month ago, and I was in the middle of ordering a rebuild kit for it. It turned out to be a bad deal. It got shipped, and it apparently post office lost it. I called the company, and it was 2 phone calls. They were not the nicest folks, and they basically blamed me for the package getting lost because I chose their free shipping method. Yeah, that didn't make me very happy. So I asked for a refund. Took them 5 days. They gave me a refund, but it actually worked out good because it gave me some more time to research what I was doing with this carburetor, and I realized that just doing a basic rebuild on it probably wasn't a good idea. I mean, if you can buy these carburetors rebuilt, brand new for about 450 bucks, and plus you got to give them your old one as a core charge. And I realized that I could get a whole full comprehensive rebuild kit that's got everything plus a new float for 120 bucks. And so I went ahead and did that, and the company I got it from this time around was a good company, and I got it in 3 days. I ordered it on the 1st of December, they shipped it on the 1st of December, and I got it on the 3rd of December today. So we're going to go ahead and do a full rebuild on it this time around. So what I ended up doing was let's get this down here so you can see. So I ended up taking out the choke, everything, the throttle, everything, and kind of made a mistake. Well, not really a mistake, but there's a little bracket that goes here that holds the float, and that's the bracket. Something went flying. Oh, a screw, got it. And one of the screws twisted off, so it's stuck in there, and I got to be able to remove that. So I just did something off camera, wasn't even thinking about turning the camera on, and I heated this up, and I put some liquid wrench, some good old-fashioned penetrant oil on it. Hopefully that gets sucked in around those threads. That'll help it be easier for me to get that screw out later. But the other thing that's probably going to help it is that I need to do some rust removal on this anyway, and I got some evapor rust, and hopefully that seeps in there. So when I do go in here with a really tiny drill bit and a screw remover, I can get it out a lot easier. So this is all ready, this is all clean, everything's off of it. There's only one thing I can't get out, and there's I don't know if you can see it down there, but there's a little brass seat in there for the high idle needle valve, and I can't get it out because I can't get to it, and I don't see it in the kit, so that'll stay in there. But I'm going to go ahead and get these into a couple of tubs here with some of this evapor rust and let them soak for probably, I don't know, not a long time, because there's really not a lot of rust. It says on the jug anywhere from an hour to 12 hours. So I don't think it's going to take too long because there's really not a lot of rust, but I do want it to get inside the little ports and cavities, etc., kind of loosen some things up, so when I go brush them out and blow them out, I can get everything, all the crud out of there. So let's get some of this evaporust poured into here. Stuff wasn't too bad. It was 20 bucks for a gallon, and I don't think one use completely destroys it, so I'm going to save it, and I'm going to use it to clean up some cast iron pans that need some attention. And apparently that's okay, because it says it's non-toxic, pH neutral, reusable, and you can use it on tools, antiques, cookware, autos, hardware, etc. So that'll be pretty cool. I can make it go a long time. So let's get some of this stuff in here that's supposedly non-toxic. I'm sure it causes cancer in California though. But I'm going to go ahead and put enough in here to completely submerge both halves of this carburetor, and we'll let her do her thing for a while. I kind of took more, well, that was a big one, so. I gotta put the whole gallon in here. Okay, not quite. Still got some left in the jar, in the jug. Okay, we're gonna let this sit here for a while. Be kind of interesting to see how long it takes, and then we'll proceed on to the next step. What do you want, Mr. Winchester? You can't be hungry. I know you're not hungry. You got a full food bowl constantly. All right, we're gonna let this sit for a while, and then I'll bring you guys back. There we go. Got that stud out, and I got lucky getting that thing centered on that broken screw. Threads look pretty well cleaned up. So yeah, be careful if you have to do this. This was a where is that? It was a 440 tap. All right, I got this little kit. It's a Bosch brand. It came with the number 43 bit for it. But what I ended up using was a 5/64 that would fit this bolt remover, just in case I had to use that. And it turns out that 5/64 augured enough out that when I went in with the tap and chased the threads, it got all the junk out. So I actually think I'm pretty lucky, because I was in here before I started filming. I was filing the top of that bolt, really good for a while to get nice and flat so I can get my center punch on it and get it nice, real close. And it wasn't close to, it wasn't like perfectly in center, so I had to tilt the bit a little bit to get it back into center, but it worked out. Looks like these threads are chasing out nice and clean though, so this is very fortunate. So the Evaporest I used, this stuff right here, worked really good. I don't have the stuff you're supposed to spray on it right away once you rinse it off with water, so it did flash rust just a little bit. You can kind of see it, but I'll get that off with just a plastic bristle brush and maybe one of those green scrub pads, and that'll clean it back up. But it got it clean, really super clean. So all I have to do is chase the inside of all these little ports and channels and stuff to make sure there's no junk in there, and we'll be ready to get this thing put back together. The other half is still in the tub. I still have to get that thing rinsed out, but I think I'll have some spray oil on hand as soon as I get it rinsed and cleaned up. That way I don't have this flash rust issue again, which it won't be too much trouble to get it fixed. But all right, we're back at it. I think this is day 3 or 4 on this carburetor restoration, and I got everything cleaned up. There's rust has been removed. The Evaporest worked pretty darn good. That's that. Here's the bottom half. Looking pretty halfway decent. Now there's going to be another cleaning after this where I get into all these little ports and really scrub them out and blow everything out with an air compressor. But right now, oh, and as you notice, I got that tapped out. So what I want to do now is I want to flatten this in case there's been any warpage over the years. I don't have my machinist level. I can't find it anywhere, but I wanted to do this anyway. So we're going to go ahead and start with 220 grit. I'm using Windex as my lubricant for the wet sanding, and we're going to do both sides of the carburetor. I'm going to do 220 only on this side, just a little bit where it mates up to the intake. I'm not really worried about this leaking any liquids or anything, because liquids don't really get up there. But these two mating surfaces for the carburetor, where they fit together, I want to make sure they're good and flat. And you can tell they are not flat. Now the gasket's going to take up some of that, but I'm going to go ahead and take some of it out with just some sanding here and get it close. I don't think I'm going to get it perfect. As a matter of fact, to get it perfect, I think I'm going to take off way too much metal. So we're just going to get it close. So we'll get started. I'm going to go ahead and I'll speed this part of the video up so you guys don't have to sit here for 3 hours. I'm using Windex as a lubricant, mostly because that's what I've done in the past, and it seems to work pretty good. Okay. Yep, a little bit right there, mostly on the edges. So I'm starting with 220 grit. I'll go up to 400, and then I'll finish with 600. See there? Nothing's rocking anymore. We got two good mating surfaces now. Yeah, there's a few high spots in there. We'll just get her busted down just a little bit. Get her a little closer than she was. Oh, look at that. I already got rid of the rock. All right, we'll call that good. There's no more rock left in it. So she's at least flat. Then these mating surfaces where there is potential for a leak are cleaned up really good. That gasket should make a really nice seal. So next, time to clean them up really good, blow them out, and then we'll get on to the assembly process. Okay, we got everything cleaned up here and ready for reassembly. We're gonna go ahead and start on the bottom half, and we're gonna start with something I have no idea what it's called, but there's this hole right here that's on the bottom of the intake where the main jet is. And my best guess is that it is there's this piece of felt that goes in here. My best guess is that this is a drain for condensation that may build up inside, and or if you flooded your engine, this is where that extra fuel would drain out and wouldn't cause any issues. So if somebody out there knows exactly what that's called, I'd appreciate it, but that's my best guess of what it's called, what it's for. So it's got the felt, it's got a little disc here that I'll tap in with a hammer, and I'll use a socket to hopefully get it in there nice and square. There it is. Okay. What was the next part? Oh, that's right. I was going to do what's called the high speed. Where is that? It's like the high speed adjusting or something, or load control, etc. I don't know. Anyway, I know a little bit what I'm doing, but I don't know all the terminology. There's a piece of packing here made out of graphite. Slides on here. Then you go ahead and get this screwed in. I understand you got to go in until it's snug, just snug. To where you can still turn this a little bit, which I can. Go a little bit more. And then this thing has to get screwed in. This needle, it's not a valve, but it's kind of sort of a needle valve. Screw it in until it seats all the way in. That's all the way in. Double check to make sure this is snug. And then the preset for this is 3 full turns out, so okay, so that's all set up, ready to go. Then there is a drain for the bowl. If you want to like winterize it, you can drain the bowl out completely. Okay, and there's a petcock that goes in there. Just like that. I'm not going to put it in right now because I'm going to be painting this. And I got to tape off some of this stuff. So that'll go in when we're all done. Then the main jet, or main nozzle, has a gasket. I think I need a socket for this. Looks like a 7/16. That could be a half. Yep, 7/16 it is. Probably don't want to over tighten this. Okay. Main jet's in. And socket went on the floor. Next part up is the choke. Got the choke plate. Got the arm here. There's a little piece of felt here that needs to go right in there. And then there's a retainer ring. It's a little tiny piece of brass that's got to go in. I understand the easiest way to put it in is to actually use the, get that centered. Okay. This is the actual choke axle and arm, but I'm going to use it with a small hammer here to get that retainer ring seated in there. Looks like that got it. Okay. Then there is a small spring that goes in here and a little tiny ball bearing for a detent, so that basically the ball bearing rides in there, and it gives it like two main settings for the choke: wide open or closed. And you can adjust it anywhere in between, but that sets it up for your open and close. I'm going to do myself a favor and put a little bit of grease in there where that spring goes, just in case I have to take it apart again and rust decides to build up a little bit. So just a little bit of grease there. Kind of throw it off some rust buildup. So spring goes in. Okay. Got the choke plate ready to go. And the screws. So let's get this ball bearing set. Get the choke axle in there. Ball bearing still there. Now I've got to hold that ball bearing from falling out and get the choke plate in. And the arrow goes up. to get these screws in here without dropping them. Okay, got one in. Let's see if we get the other one in there. I'm assuming you probably don't want to get these too tight, but you want to get them tight enough. Okay, little trapdoor works. Open, closed. All right. I think that's pretty much everything for the bottom half. Oh, except for the idle jet. I'm going to put that in a little bit later so I don't accidentally break it off. Put it in right before I put the two halves together. All right. Top half. Now, if you remember, I broke that bolt off, and I was able to successfully get it drilled out and clean the threads up with a tap. So that's a part that didn't come with the new kit. So where are we over here? There's the little bracket for the float assembly. I'm going to wire brush that off really quick. Little Scotch-Brite to polish it. Okay. That goes there. And it looks like my kit does not come with replacement screws for that. Well, shucks. That's for the throttle, those screws there. That's for the throttle linkage. Stand by for a quick intermission while I figure this one out. Okay, I found a screw that is going to work. It's not correct, but the threads are close enough. It's got a, what's the head on that thing? T9 at 2.5. This probably came out of an iPhone or something I took apart. Anyway, it's gonna work. Let's get the original in there first. I think she's long enough to get the lock washer on there. Oh yeah, definitely long enough. This sucker's tiny. Okay. Well, get in there. Yeah, that's gonna work. Okay. All right. The valve in the seat, that's next. Goes in with a gasket. Okay. Should be tighten off. Then the new needle valve goes right in there. Then we got the new float. Goes in there like this. Got this new little axle. See, that's been crimped prior. Let's get that straightened out a little bit. Okay. And that doesn't have to be crimped tight because the casting will keep this from sliding out. So it just needs to be tight enough to hold it in there. There we have it. Now there is one measurement you have to make from here to the top of that. When it's upside down, it should be 1 5/16, give or take. I think it was like 3/64 or something like that. And she's right at 5/16, so I'll check the other side too, just to be sure. Oh yeah, she's on the money. All right, so that's ready. Let's make sure our gasket goes on there properly. Looks like the gas is going to work pretty good. Venturi goes in next, just like so. Put the gasket, and then the idle jet will go in here. I understand that this probably doesn't need to be too tight, but we'll make it just snug enough so that you can't rattle out. Okay. Have not missed any parts so far. Okay, so bottom half goes on the top half. I think this gasket was made in China. It's close enough though. Oh, get that one there. All right, then. These bolts go in. With lock washers. And please, if you ever do this, don't put Loctite on these bolts. Please. You want to be able to take it apart and clean it out from time to time, should you need to do so. We'll go around slowly and get them snugged up nice and evenly with that nicely ground down surface that I prepared for it. Coming together. Yep, I can hear the float going up and down the way it's supposed to. Nice and even. Give them all a good last tighten here. Oops. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Yep, I'm really happy I ground those down. Otherwise, there'd be some trouble for that gasket to kind of fill it in. Yes, I think that's going to be fantastic. Okay, throttle plate. Let's put this in. And here's a screw I have no idea what it's for yet. Alright, now there's one thing I didn't do. There's a bushing in here, and there's another one on this side, and they seem to be okay. I checked it. They don't really have too much play, so I think they'll be alright. Plus, I don't have the tools to get the old ones out. I got the tools to put the new ones in, plus this little cap that goes over here, but I don't have the right tools to get them out. So I think I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to save these for later, should this ever give me any issues. So this is the throttle axle. Goes in just like so. All right. Now we got to fish this throttle plate into there. And the 12 degrees is supposed to go up, so let's see if we can get her in there. This might be a little tricky. Get back in there. There we go. Now some more little tiny screws with my big fat callous fingers that can't feel anything. Looking good. Then the idle adjustment screw goes in right here. Go until you touch. And I think you're supposed to back it off 1.5 turns. I have to look back when I go tune this up, but let's go ahead and get this finished. There's the idle passage plug right here that goes in here. Okay. And the idle idle air mixture needle valve goes right here. Some of the models that have it down here, but this one happens to have it up here. And this one you're supposed to go all the way in and then back it off 1 turn and for your initial settings. Let's see, one last thing I want to put in here. This is the fuel inlet with a screen on it and gasket. Be careful with this so you don't tear it. This is brass, you don't have to get it too tight, but we'll make sure it's tight enough. Okay, next process, I'm gonna paint it. I've got some good red oxide metal primer, and I got some proper International Harvester Red. And what I'm gonna do first though is I'm going to tape a bunch of stuff off. I'm going to take these screws out and stick something in that hole. I don't want to, it's going to be too hard to tape off these little springs and whatnot. Okay, so I'm going to trim this gasket a little bit just to make it look pretty. Tape off all my openings, plug a couple holes, and tape off the brass obviously, and the linkage. and we'll get it hung up and get it primed and painted. I'll bring it back right after I get it all set up for that. All right, let's get this thing painted. All right, that's coat number 1 of some good red oxide metal primer. Bring it back for coat number 2. All right, quick second coat just to make sure I didn't miss any spots with the primer. All right, we'll let that flash off and dry, and we'll hit it with some good old-fashioned International Harvester red. Okay, it's time to get the International red on this here carburetor. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, that's it for the carburetor restoration rebuild. The next video will be getting this thing installed and doing a proper cold start on the backhoe, and it will definitely be literally a cold start because we're averaging in the upper teens overnight right now, and should be a good run. See you all in the next video.